Hi guys, and welcome to a Q&A. I don't know how to start this. So I had asked in a vlog if you guys wanted a Q&A or if you guys had any questions. So I've got some from YouTube, I've got some from Facebook, I have some that were just Instagram DMs, and I was gonna put this into a vlog, but it was gonna be really long. So I decided to just go ahead and do this as a separate video because I think it's probably going to be at least half an hour. I'm going to try to not ramble about these questions. I'm going to try to get through these as quickly as possible. So I'm going to get started with YouTube. So the first question is from Southern Beauty Vlog. I see you all the time. Hey girl. So she said, so what is your favorite kit that you have designed since you've been in business? That is difficult. I have had the shop for 3 years in July, so that's a lot of kits to think through. If I had to say my favorite kit in recent memory, it would be the March Mystery Kit. I am obsessed still with that kit. I love it so much. That's the kit that I get the most messages about buying, about restocks, about everything. And I will give you guys a little hint for the anniversary sale. We are going to be doing something special. I'm not going to say what, but I think you probably got it. So let's see. The next one is from Jess. I believe her logo up there says Simply a Mess Sticker Shop. I've heard of that, so I'm pretty sure that's what it is. She said, what is your favorite Office episode? And that is absolutely impossible for me to answer. There is no way. I want to say Casino Night, but I don't think so. It would be easier for me to tell you like what my favorite gym prank is, I think, than for me to pick one episode of The Office. The Office is the only show that, well, not the only show, but I rewatch it so often. And I never sit down and have an episode come on that I'm like, oh, I don't want this one, I'm gonna skip it. I love every single episode of The Office, so I'm sorry, I can't answer that. The next question, and I got this question from quite a few people, so I'll name them off if I can find it again. It's been a minute since I asked this. So Genevieve, I hope I'm saying that right, I think I am, asked, what made you start planning and what inspired you to open a shop? And I got this question in many forms, but I will try to say everybody's name if I can find them again. So I was working full-time at a place that I had been at for a few years, and I decided that I wanted to go back to school. I've gone back to school a few times, and as I was going to be beginning this new semester and I was also working full-time, I wanted a new planner. I've always used planners. I used to carry a Lily Pulitzer. I hope I'm saying that right. I used that one for a while. I've used just ones from Target. But anyway, I wanted a new one for school, so I started looking it up, and I started to see Erin Condren, and then for somehow I got over to YouTube, and I ended up finding, I think it had to be Elle Fowler, but there could have been other people that were using the Erin Condren and putting the stickers into it, and I thought that was just the coolest thing I had ever seen. I'd never seen anything like that with the stickers and the planners. So I, decided I'm going to buy an Erin Condren, and I bought it. And then this was when there wasn't a ton of shops. It was over 3 years ago because the shop is almost 3 years old, and I didn't start my shop for a while after I started. Anyway, so I obviously wanted stickers for the planner. So I had bought from a couple of shops. I can't think of who the first shop I ever bought from was. I know Stickerific was one. I'm not sure if she's still around. Exo Simply Me, Simply Kish was one of the first. I know she is still around. I know I wanted to buy from ScribblePrintsCo because that's who Elle was like consistently showing, but this was during the time that she wasn't open. I remember she actually opened up for like a couple of hours maybe, and it was a kit that was yellow. I think it was like August, and it wasn't even a kit though, it was a bunch of like just different things that were all in that color scheme, and that was the first thing I ever bought from her. But anyway, on to the part that was the question. So basically I was doing that, and it's not a cheap hobby. So what I decided to do, because I wasn't really able to plan the way that I wanted to, sorry, phone call. Anyway, I don't remember where I was. I know that I wasn't able to plan quite the way I wanted to, so I started to do printables. I started buying printables. Ooh, I'm trying to think of the name of that shop. Little Blue Garden, I think, is where I started to buy printables. And then I was just cutting them out with scissors, and I decided like a few weeks later that I wanted to try making what I wanted as a printable, because at that time there weren't as many shops and there wasn't exactly what I wanted to use. So I decided to start doing my own, and I did the same thing. I designed mine, printed them, I just went to Staples, got some sticker paper, and I was still cutting them with scissors, but I started posting them on my personal Instagram. But I was following planner people, I had planner people following me, and I started posting spreads, and I started to get questions like, hey, would you consider selling these? Stuff like that. So a few weeks later, I decided to buy a Cameo, taught myself how to do it, taught myself everything in Silhouette, and then opened the shop a little bit later. So that's how I got into everything. Somebody asked, what brand of paper do you use? I'm gonna go ahead and address this as far as the paper, the printers, anything like that. A lot of people don't think it's a big deal to show what you're using. I personally am not gonna do that. The paper doesn't bother me as much as the printers do. I spent a lot of time, a lot of money on finding the printer that worked best for me, and I found it a few years ago. This isn't the printer that I started with. So when people ask me, what printer do you use? I just don't feel like I'm trying to figure out how to say this without sounding like I'm being rude. Because of how much time and energy and everything I put into finding it, I don't feel like I should just hand over that information. And if you're a shop and you have no issues showing your printer, then that's great. But I personally am not going to do that. I'm not going to talk about it. And that goes for anything that's like that. It's not something that I'm going to talk about. So that's all I have to say about it. Next question is from Danielle. Why and when did you start an Etsy sticker store? So I kind of just answered that one. It was July of 2015, I believe. Do you ever have a weekend off? No. I could technically take a weekend off if I wanted to, and sometimes I do, but as a general rule, I work all 7 days a week. Generally what I do on the weekends is I just don't work like as much, but I always want to get everything done that I can get done and get things done as quickly as far as like shipping stuff to you guys and everything. So I'd normally try to just always get some work done at least every single day, even if it's designing or working like through messages or something like that. That's why I don't take time off. It's not that I couldn't, I probably could if I wanted to. She also said, where do you get the inspiration for the stickers and kits? So for me personally, I don't hand draw anything. So inspiration hits for me when I'm like scrolling through Etsy looking at like clip art or digital papers. Generally I will find something and I'll love it. And if I think that I can put a really nice like touch on it and I can make it into something very pretty, that is how I design. I spend a lot of time just scrolling through Etsy looking at digital papers and clip art. I have a cart or a saved area in Etsy that has tons and tons of stuff in it. So if I can't find anything, I'll always go back and then kind of look at stuff again. If it's something that I'm immediately like, yes, I want to do this right now, this is going to be gorgeous, I'll do it, but otherwise I'll just save it. And a lot of the times I don't go back and do it just because it's not speaking to me enough. But that's normally how I design, is the art that some of these amazingly talented artists on, Etsy, there's other places as well, that just speaks to me and it makes me want to like put my own touch on it. She also asked, what does your mom think of you having your own store? When I first got started, Mom was very much telling me to not quit my normal job, which I didn't for a very long time. Now though, it's been 3 years and she likes it because she works for me now. But yeah, I don't know how else to answer that other than she enjoys doing, stuff with me. What a weird way to say things. Anyway, so now I'm gonna go over to, I hope I didn't miss anything on YouTube. I might have because it's been a minute. I'm gonna go over to the Facebook group and answer from there. Okay, so Ariana, who is actually, I hope it's not Ariana, I think it's Ariana, asked, and she's one of my PR girls, she asked, how did you get started in your business? Just answered that for the most part. What made it interesting to you? The design aspect. Once I got started doing my own stuff, like just for myself, and I really got in there and was, designing and everything, I I love designing and then getting to see once it gets printed out, like how the end result looks is my favorite. What did you do beforehand? So before, for about 5 or 6 years, it was closer to 6, I think, I worked with adults with mental disabilities. I was a medical technician / rehabilitation technician, and I had done that for quite a while. So that's what I did before. Christina asked, what's your favorite part about running a sticker shop? So like I said, seeing the end result after designing is one of my favorite parts. I think my absolute favorite part though is seeing when you guys like tag me on Instagram in your spreads, and the reviews, like reading your reviews is one of my absolute favorite parts. It always makes me really happy. Tammy asked, how long have you had your shop? It'll be 3 years in July. I don't know the exact date. I'm sure I could go back into Etsy and check it. But it was towards the end of July. Etsy, I think, is showing me from when I actually made the shop, but I made the shop and then I didn't even open it until a little bit later. So I think the date that I'm looking at is my first sale, which was towards the end of July. So about 3 years. She also asked, what advice would you give anyone who may be considering starting their own sticker shop? I would say you're never gonna feel like you're ready to open. I didn't. I don't think you're ever gonna feel like you've got everything totally ready and you have no more questions and you just feel like you 100% know what you're doing. I would say if you have the product done and good and you've got everything that you're really, really happy with it, and you have figured out most of the back end of Etsy, which I feel like is something that's not too incredibly difficult to figure out, I would say go for it, just do it. When I opened, I was like scrambling to get listings done right before I was supposed to open because it just wasn't something that I had really taken the time. I thought I knew, but then once I actually started doing it, I was just kind of anyway, so I would say if you're going to start a shop and you want to, but you're just not really sure, do it. Just at least try it out. I don't think you're ever going to feel like you're 1000% ready to do it, so just jump right in. I feel like Shia LaBeouf right now. If I knew how to insert a GIF into this video of him screaming, do it, I would do that, but I'm not that technically knowledgeable. So that's what I would say about starting your own sticker shop. I would also say make sure you do a lot of research first. Make sure you've got a good printer, you've got good paper, you've tried out different things. Don't just buy one and settle. The only way that I was really able to decide on the printer that I wanted was by buying, I'm not kidding, like 8, printing the same page on every single one of them, going through and checking and seeing what color looked best, what print quality was best, all of that. I'm not saying go spend a bunch of money or that you need to buy 8 printers. I'm just saying make sure that you really have researched what you're doing and that you're able to sell or put out a product that you truly love. So that was a lot. So Chris said, would you let me come down and work for you so I can get all the kits? Yes, Chris, but only if you bring cupcakes. If you're in the Facebook group, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. He also said, what keeps you motivated? I'm the type of person, and this is why I don't really take days off, that when I know that there's work to be done and that there's orders that need to be filled, I'm gonna do everything to get it done. Also, coffee keeps me motivated. Coffee for sure, but I always wanna make sure that you guys are getting things as quickly as humanly possible for me to do. I don't wanna just take a bunch of, take the weekend off and, not do anything when I could get a few hours of work in and get those kits shipped out a day or two earlier to you guys. Also, something that really keeps me motivated, again, is seeing your spreads, seeing your reviews, just seeing you guys use the stickers, and anytime you tag me in something and say how much you love them, that just gives me even more motivation to keep doing what I'm doing and to get things out quicker to you guys. So Elizabeth says, if you didn't have a sticker shop, what type of job would you like to have? Okay, so this is a 3-part. There's actually more, so I'm gonna answer that part first. I really liked what I did before I opened the shop. However, there wasn't much room for advancement in the company that I was working for, and that's why I had gone back to school. So what I was in school for was accounting. I also have a real estate license, a CNA license. I've got certification to give medicine in the state of North Carolina. But what I was going back to school for was accounting. So I think if I wasn't doing this, I would probably be doing that. Did you go to college? Yes, I did. I have gone back and forth a few times. I don't like school. It's not that I don't like school if it's what I'm there for, like the accounting classes, fine. But when I'm an accounting major and I'm taking a history class, that's what I can't stand it. And where's your favorite place to travel to? Disney. It's got to be Disney. I'm sorry. I love Disney. I've said before, I'm a DVC member, so is Mom and Mike. So we go down at least once a year. This year we're going to be going down twice a year. I've been like out of the country and everything. Disney is my favorite place. So Bianca asked, Bianca's another one of my PR girls, when and why did you decide you wanted to incorporate foil into your kits? I think I started in October, and the reason that I decided was because I loved how it looked. I personally love foil. I think it is absolutely stunning. And the reason I decided to start doing it was because I knew in my head, without having any idea how to foil, exactly how to do the design aspect of the foiling to incorporate it into the artwork that I was already using. I just, in my head, I know that sounds silly, but I knew exactly how to do it. So I wanted to, because back when I started, there were not as many shops doing foil as there are now. And I knew that the way that I was gonna do it would be kind of, I don't wanna say unique because it isn't anymore, but when I started, I don't feel like there were very many shops doing it quite the way I was, incorporated into digital papers the way that it is. It was more of overlays and whatnot. But at the same time, don't come for me in the comments or anything. It's totally possible that there were shops, and I personally hadn't seen those shops that way. But foil is not the simplest thing to do when you're incorporating it into artwork, but I knew I could do it in my head, so I decided to go ahead and start trying to do it. The actual process of learning how to put the foil onto the paper was not the easiest thing. But as far as the design work, I knew I could do it, and I thought I could do it well, so that's why I started. She also said, when are we gonna see Mom in a plan with me? A mom plan with me sounds like a great idea. I'm trying. I'm getting her into the vlogs. She's finally like accepting that, so I'm hoping I can get her to start with the plan with me soon. At least maybe I can get her to do like a dual one with me. I don't know if she'll sit down and do it by herself, but maybe if I can set it up so you can see both of our planners, we can kind of do like a joint plan with me. Okay, so from Seaside Stickers, who's actually a friend of mine, we talk pretty often. She said, how did you decide to run a shop full-time? Did you quit another job for that? Was it scary? And what do you do to get inspired? So I think I've answered the inspired. I answered if I quit another job for that. I didn't decide to run the shop as full-time for a few months. I think it was, I started in July, and I think by at least November maybe is when I'm not 100% sure. Let me explain what happened. So where I worked, we had full-time, part-time, PRN, and then we also had a Baylor shift. So what I was originally was full-time. Because of the amount of work that I was doing, let me explain this better. Okay, I was in school full-time when this started. I was working at least 40 hours a week. A lot of the times it was more than that. So the first thing that got dropped when I started getting more orders than I felt like I could deal with was school got dropped. I had to keep working, obviously. So things progressed, and this was a very like long drawn out process as far as me leaving my job. So basically what happened was I went from full-time, which was 2 days off a week. So I switched over to Baylor shift, which basically what it was on Saturday and Sunday, I worked from 7 a.m. until anywhere between 11 p.m. to 11:45 p.m. It just always depended on what was going on. And then one day during the week, I would work a normal 8-hour shift. So that worked out pretty well for me for a while, but it's really, you can get burnt out doing that very quickly. Basically what was happening was I was working those two 16-hour shifts back to back. And then after that was done, I would need like a day or two to just recuperate from doing that. So that worked out for me for a while. What I was doing before that was actually getting up really early in the morning, working until I had to go to my shift at 3 p.m. And then I would get off of that shift between 11:30 to midnight. And I would just repeat that process. So that I was exhausted all the time. That's when I decided to go to Baylor shift. Baylor shift I did for a minute. It was for a decent amount of time, but then that even got to be just a bit too much. And as all of this is happening, the orders are getting to be more and more. So that's when I decided to go part-time. So I went part-time. I did that. When I went part-time, it was, first of all, instead of being 5 days a week, I did 4 days a week. I dropped that to 3 days a week. I dropped that to 2 days a week. And this is all as I'm getting, you know, more and more orders each week. So I'm having to cut back on my other job more. So eventually I went PRN, which is just as needed. So basically if somebody called in sick or something, they were able to call me. I could come cover their shift, and that worked out. But you have to work once every, I think, 3 or 6 months to continue being PRN. And I didn't do that. And they actually called me and they said, do you want to come in for a shift just so we can keep you on the payroll? And at this point, it was just, I had pretty much already decided that I was going to be doing the shop full time, and I kind of already was doing the shop full time. So I told them no, to go ahead and take me off of the payroll. So that's how I left my job. That was a lot of rambling, but anyway, that's how I left my job. It was not like one day I decided to leave. I did a very long, drawn out process of me leaving my job. 1 second, there was a little bit more, I believe. Oh no, was it scary? It would have been a lot scarier had I just left. But because of the way that I did it, I knew that during that time period, if I needed to go back to being full-time, I could. They actually, I don't believe, replaced me until I was totally gone, or until I went PRN. It wasn't totally gone, it was PRN. But yeah, okay, so moving on, and I'm hoping I'm gonna get everybody's, because I asked this a while ago, and I feel like I may not have gotten all of these like in one place. Okay, so still on Instagram. Oh, I'm gonna butcher this. Anna Thulin. We're gonna go with Anna. Anna asked, she said, I should say, I love your vlogs, thank you. It gives me an insight into what it's like to be an Etsy owner. I'm an upcoming seller, so a question for your vlog. Can you give some tips for beginner sellers? Anything and everything will help. So I feel like I already answered this a little bit in the question asking if I had any tips for people thinking about opening. I will tell you what helped me the most when I first started. I opened my shop and I had a lot of feedback, so I thought that when I opened I would just start getting sales, and that did not happen. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong, so I thought about it, and what I ended up doing was having sales, having coupons. And I'm not talking like what we do now. I'm talking like 40% off, 50% off. And as soon as I started offering that, I started getting sales. And I continued to do that for a few months until I, had kind of made a name for myself. And people knew my shop, and I had reviews, which are important, and I had sales. So I would say a big piece of advice if you're just starting up is to offer discounts, because I think that's a great way to get people to try your shop. I would say try to have a good bit of options in your shop. I know that that's not always a possibility. I would also say, and this will totally depend on the person, but I would say even when you're first starting out, have at least a few of each thing that you offer already printed and cut, so that when orders come in, you can really quickly get them out. I think that is great for the buyer, and knowing that you're able to ship quickly can be really helpful. Plus it's easier on you. You don't want to get overwhelmed. One day you may get a sale and it's for 10 of each item in your shop, and you're super overwhelmed all of a sudden. So I would suggest that as well, but I think that's kind of it as far as tips, at least that I can think of. So Katarina asked, how did you learn how to make stickers / create the layouts of your kits? So I taught myself how to make stickers. Like I said, I actually, at the job that I was at, somebody on our third shift quit, and my boss was trying to find somebody to cover, and he needed somebody to cover for like a couple of weeks. The problem with that was you couldn't also work your shift. So I was second shift. So I told him, I said, I'll cover second and third shift for the remainder of the time that you need it done, if during third shift I can bring my laptop so I can work on this. And he let me do that, because for the most part everybody's asleep on third shift. So I actually spent a ton of time there getting all of my design work done, going over things, fixing it before I ever even opened the shop. But I completely taught myself. I know now there are tons of videos on YouTube showing you how to make stickers. So if you don't know how, search that on YouTube. Emma over at Inspired Blush has a lot of really good tutorials. And for creating the layout of the kits, that is something that is constantly evolving, and that's not just me, that's most shop owners. And I think what that is we make a format and we love it, And then in a couple of months, you just want to make something the best you can make it. So generally shops will reformat, and that's why, because we want to always have something that we're really proud of. You know, sometimes the way that we plan changes, or the way that everybody else is planning changes. Like for B6, for instance, that's why I came out with the B6 format. But what I generally do is I take the last kit that I have, I go in and I open a new page and I start moving everything that has to be in that kit, like headers or stuff that I know that everybody wants, over into that file, so I've got it all. Then what I would normally do is think, what do I use consistently? And if it wasn't already there, I go back, I grab those things, move them over. Then I'll normally go into the Facebook group and I'll do like a poll, or I'll ask, I'll say, what do you guys have to have in kits? What do you want to see in kits? And anything that, you know, multiple people are saying, I'll generally add that into the kit. And at that point, you just have a big mess in Silhouette Studio with stuff everywhere. But from there, I will size out the pages and I'll start moving things in. And let me tell you that a reformat is not something that gets done overnight. That is generally something weeks in the making, at least for me. I'll work on it a little bit because it'll start to drive me crazy. I'll work on it a little bit, I'll come back to it and work on it a little bit, but generally that is something that takes a ton of time. And if it's something that you guys would like to see, how I reformat a kit, I can try to do a video recording like of my screen the next time that I do it. Granted, it's going to be a bit confusing because it's going to be, you know, a couple of weeks of chopped up what I'm doing. But if that's something you'd like to see, let me know and I will get footage as I'm doing it. I did just do a reformat and I still really, really love it right now. So it probably won't be anytime soon, but that's kind of how the layout of the kits goes. Okay, so Sweet and Simple, Sweet with 2 T's. I see you a lot. She has beautiful spreads. Her whole feed is really gorgeous. Me and my PR girls were actually talking about it the other day. If you want some really pretty spreads, go check her out. She said, how did you get started with doing an Etsy sticker shop? I've already answered that one. Any tips or tricks to start a shop? Did that one. Tips on foiling, have patience and possibly a glass of wine or a bottle when you first start, because it is not an easy process, at least when you're learning. Once you've kind of got it down, it's not so bad. I would say to, I don't know, just have patience, because it's really not, it's a big learning curve when you first get started doing it. I don't really have any tips on to make it better. I can tell you that the type of paper that you are using makes a huge difference on how foil looks. Other than that though, I don't think there's any tips I could give on doing it. A lot of the times, it's, in my opinion, it's the foiling machine's problem, not my problem, that's making things happen. At least as far as things messing up. That's another thing, things are gonna mess up. I'm over here, or Mom I should say, is over here foiling hundreds of sheets, and some things are gonna mess up. And I've not found anything that I can really do to make it better. It kind of happens. But paper type makes a big difference. She also said favorite place to get your foils. I'm gonna go ahead and put that over with printers and paper and everything like that. I will say it's not hard to find a foil supplier. I will also say that I've tried quite a few different ones, and in my opinion, they're all the same foil. None of them have ever been better or worse than a different one. They're all the same color. In my opinion, there is no difference. The reason that I decided on the supplier that I'm currently using, which is different than the one I was using when I started, is because they're kind of close to me. So when I order, it gets here within 2 days, and that to me is important. So in my opinion, I would say when picking a foil supplier, unless you find somebody that you think that their foil is different, go for the one with the best pricing and the one that's getting it to you the fastest, if that's important to you. She also said, tell us a little bit about yourself from faves to not faves. I don't know how to answer that. Let me think. I need like more than that. Favorite show is obviously The Office. I feel like I've said that. Favorite food is the Parmesan bread twist from Domino's. I'm obsessed with Domino's. It's when I'm on keto, obviously I can't have it. Current favorite sticker shop, SamanthaMaeSticks. I found her through one of my PR girls not that long ago, and I just love everything that she does. I'll link her below. If I forget to link her below, tell me in the comments and I'll add it. I'm really bad about that. Not favorites. I don't have a not favorite shop, so I'm not gonna say that. Not favorite food, I don't like fish at all. I can't eat it. What was the first thing I said? The Office. Not favorite TV. That's silly. Spiders. Let me tell you a story. I don't like spiders. I like terrified of spiders. The other day, you guys may have seen if you watch my videos, I have one of the Ring doorbells so that you can actually see outside. So it was a Sunday night, it was raining and it was really windy, and I had taken my trash out and set it out. So I decided to open the camera on the doorbell because I wanted to make sure that the trash hadn't blown, or I was gonna, you know, go get it and bring it back. So I opened the doorbell and I'm sitting there, it's kind of dark, and I'm looking and the trash is still there. And I'm not kidding, a spider crawled across the top of the camera, and it looked like it was on my phone screen, and I screamed and dropped the phone. I have never, it looked bigger than my car because it was directly on top of the camera lens. I almost died. So that's one of my not favorite things. Other than that though, I would need more context. Hopefully that's okay. Okay, so I think that that's all the questions. I'm pretty sure I've missed some, and I'm really, really sorry if I did miss your question. I will probably do another one of these at some point, or I can, if there's not so many questions, if you want to leave some more below, if there's anything that you asked or I missed, leave it down below and I can actually answer it in the vlog. Since I actually asked on different social media platforms this time, I wanted to make just a whole separate video because I knew it was going to be a bit longer, but if there's only one or two, I can just kind of answer them in the vlog. But I hope that I answered your questions okay, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye guys.